My name is Michael Carter. After graduating from middle school, I started working instead of going to high school. Since all my classmates went on to high school, they often make condescending remarks about me. Just the other day, at a class reunion, one of my classmates, Madison Stevens, said something awful to me. Why is someone like Michael even here? Normally, if you start working right after middle school, it would be so embarrassing that you wouldn't want to attend something like this. I didn't fail my entrance exams or anything. I chose to start working after middle school on my own, so I don't feel any particular shame about it. Then let me enlighten you. Your background is incredibly embarrassing, and you really should feel more ashamed. I appreciate your advice, but I don't feel like I need to be ashamed, so I just see it as unnecessary concern right now. You're acting all calm, but deep down, aren't you panicking? Realizing how much everyone has been looking down on you. Madison said that with a loud laugh. She's always been like this, saying things like that, and I genuinely think she has a terrible personality. Madison's parents run a company, and compared to other families, they definitely have more money. But just because she was born into a wealthy family doesn't give her the right to look down on others. I've always thought that way, but ever since our school days, Madison has looked down on me. That said, I know that responding to her won't change anything, so I usually try not to talk back. However, I couldn't take it anymore, so I decided to speak my mind. Honestly, I'm working at a company, so I'm not causing anyone any trouble, right? I just don't understand why I have to be looked down on for that. You might not realize it, but you're making everyone around you extremely uncomfortable. Just that alone is a huge nuisance, don't you think? Maybe that's how you feel, Madison, but no one else has ever said that to me. Are you sure you're not just imagining it? Everyone's just being polite to you. They're holding back, but in reality, they're really frustrated with you. If that's what you think, that's fine, but I've never felt that way, so I'm not going to worry about it. If you keep living like that, you're just going to keep being a nuisance to everyone, so I think you should be a bit more considerate. Honestly, Madison tries to act like she's just being concerned, but it's obvious she's only looking down on me. Sure, I might be a middle school graduate, but I'm not causing trouble for anyone, so no one's ever said anything like that to me. I don't think not having high school education is something to be proud of, but it's not something others should judge me for either. So, even when people give me a surprised look when I mention it, I try not to let it bother me. Still, hearing it said directly to my face like this made me realize it does hurt a little. It's not like I can just go back to high school now, so could you stop criticizing my life? It's not like I'm causing you any trouble, Madison. It's pretty cruel to be stuck with just a middle school education, isn't it? I wonder why your older brother James, who's a successful surgeon, turned out great while you ended up being such a failure. James doesn't have anything to do with this, right? We're living our own lives, and it's okay if there's a difference between us. Are you just going to keep making excuses? You probably wanted to be a surgeon like your brother, but since you knew you couldn't do it, you just gave up and got a job after middle school, right? I don't care about my brother. I just didn't see the point in going to high school, so I decided to work after middle school. I get that you want to act tough, but don't you think it's about time you got honest? The more you make excuses, the more pathetic you look. No matter what I say, Madison always comes back with harsh words. It seems like she just wants to look down on me, no matter the situation. I really don't understand why I have to be treated like this when I haven't done anything to her. But I know that no matter what I say, she's not going to understand, so it just feels like a waste of time. Thinking that, I decided to leave the reunion to avoid wasting more time. As I started to leave, Madison tried to stop me, as if she thought I was running away. Why are you trying to leave on your own? Are you planning to keep running away from life like that? You should think a little more about others. I'm leaving because you told me not to come, so why did you change your mind? Isn't it better for me to leave if I'm just getting in the way? No, I just find it entertaining to mess with you, so you can stay as long as you like. It's not like you have anything better to do after leaving, right? Actually, it's still early, so I was thinking of going to work. Staying here just feels like a waste of time, and I'd rather be productive and contribute to the company. Since you started working right after middle school, I guess being a corporate cog is all you can do. Working at this hour. That seriously toxic job. I'm not working because someone's forcing me to, I just want to work. So I don't think you have any right to criticize that. When I said that, Madison didn't seem to have a comeback and just went silent. Madison had a lot to say, but I take pride in my work and always want to be productive. People who don't share that mindset might think I'm working at a toxic company, but that's not the case at all. I love my company and want to give back as much as I can. A typical white-collar worker would be at home relaxing at this time, but I guess middle school graduates can't live that kind of life. I could live that way if I wanted to, but I just really love working. It's my own choice, and I don't expect you to understand. If you had followed your brother's example and gone to medical school, you wouldn't be living like this. You only have yourself to blame for not putting in the effort. Madison, are you not getting it? I actually chose this life. Stop trying to force your way of living onto me. For a middle school graduate, you sure are acting high and mighty. That's why people look down on you. Madison tries to make it sound like her feelings are shared by everyone, but I know it's just her being arrogant. Honestly, I understand that it's just Madison acting superior, but hearing it over and over does wear me down. It seems like she enjoys seeing me hurt, which makes me think she really has a nasty personality. Since I felt that my presence was only making the atmosphere worse, I decided to leave the reunion. When I got home, my brother was there, so I decided to talk to him about what happened. I felt like I needed to vent to someone, or else the stress would just keep building up. Hey James, can I talk to you for a minute? I just got back from the reunion, and Madison said some pretty nasty things to me. That doesn't sound good. The Stevens family is known for looking down on people, but what kind of insults did she throw at you this time? Well, since her dad's a top-tier college-educated president, she kept bringing up how weird it is for me to be a middle school graduate. Basically, she was saying that being a middle school graduate is wrong. Sure, having a good education is important, but looking down on someone who's working hard just because of their education is messed up. I know, right? I'm a little self-conscious about it, but it's still not something that should justify being treated like that. Why is she so comfortable saying those things? Maybe Madison is talented in some ways, but with that attitude, I doubt she's well-liked. You probably shouldn't let it bother you too much. The Stevens family lives near us, so we've had some interactions with them over the years. My parents don't really like them, but since the Stevens keep reaching out, it's hard to completely avoid them. The Stevens family seems to think we're good friends, but that's not the case at all. James doesn't like them either, and often has negative opinions about them. That's why I thought he would take my side, so I decided to share what happened at the reunion with him. I tried not to engage, but she just kept coming at me like usual, and I didn't know how to deal with it. Why does she always have to act like that? She's the kind of person who can't see things from others' perspectives, so she doesn't even realize how people feel. She probably just thinks everyone likes her. It's frustrating, but maybe people like that end up being the happiest. It just doesn't seem fair, but there's nothing I can do. That's why you should focus on bettering yourself, no matter the situation. If you keep working hard and achieving things, eventually you'll have nothing to be looked down on for. You've always said things like that to keep me motivated. I don't think I could have made it this far without your support. If I were on my own, I probably would have given up long ago. I get it, I've been annoyed with them too, but if you just go along with their nonsense, you'll only suffer more. It's better to turn that frustration into motivation. James has that kind of mindset, which is probably why he succeeded in his exams and became a surgeon. I've always admired that about him, but his sheer dedication seemed out of reach for me. That's why I wanted to get a head start by entering the workforce earlier and growing as a professional. But despite that, hearing those things from Madison really hurt me. Studying hard for exams is commendable, but I get the feeling that Madison is just leaning on her parents' influence. I don't think she has the right to look down on others. Yeah, I think you're right. Acting all high and mighty without putting in the effort yourself just isn't right. That's why I can't stand the Stevens family. Being successful in business is impressive, but raising a child who looks down on others without correcting them is just irresponsible. If they were more sensible people, their kid would have turned out better too. Clearly, something's lacking in their upbringing. We've always tried to avoid them as much as possible, but just having to interact with them occasionally is exhausting. I can't imagine how our neighbors feel. By the way, I heard a rumor that the Stevens daughter is getting married soon. Apparently, they're inviting everyone to the wedding. No one mentioned that at the reunion, so I'm not sure what to make of it. I can't believe she was more focused on putting me down than talking about her own wedding. If that's the case, it's really strange. Then again, knowing Madison, it's not entirely impossible. She was probably so caught up in looking down on me that she forgot to mention her marriage. While I was thinking about that, I got a call from Madison. It's unusual for you to call me so suddenly. The other day, you told me to leave the reunion, so what do you want now? Actually, I forgot to mention it the other day, but I'm getting married to one of my dad's employees. So, I'm inviting your whole family to the wedding. Sorry, but we're not really that close, so you don't have to go out of your way to invite us. You're just saying that because you don't have any real friends, right? You actually want to be invited, don't you? I don't know where you got that idea, but I really don't want to be invited, so it's fine if you don't include my family. Well, after what I said at the reunion, maybe you've learned to be a bit more considerate. But this time, I'll invite you anyway. No matter what I say, Madison just doesn't listen. It seems like she has some reason for wanting to invite my family. However, I really don't want to attend Madison's wedding, and I'm pretty sure my family feels the same way. Even though I keep telling her that, she just doesn't take no for an answer. Still, if I give up now, we might actually have to attend, so I tried to make her back down. My family, including James, is really busy, so even if we get invited, there's a good chance we won't be able to make it. So really, you don't have to invite us. Don't act all modest just because you're poor. Someone like me is actually inviting you, so it's only right for you to come and celebrate. No, it's not that I'm being modest. I'm just saying that it's unlikely we can make it, so I'm trying to be upfront about it. If I'm telling you to come to my wedding, you should just follow along. Don't complain like that, you lowlife. I'm not complaining. I'm just letting you know ahead of time that it's probably not possible for us to attend. You think it's okay to disobey my orders? You're just a middle school graduate. You're supposed to follow what I say. That's how society works, and I won't allow you to ignore it. To be honest, it's not that we're too busy to go. I just really don't want to attend. But if I said that directly, it would just make things worse. So I was trying to be diplomatic. Still, Madison completely ignored my consideration and kept pushing back. At this point, I realized it was probably impossible to decline, so I reluctantly agreed to attend. If I didn't, I was worried she might spread nasty rumors around the neighborhood. All right, I'll come to the wedding, but I'm not sure if everyone can make it, so please don't complain if not all of us show up. I've already reserved seats for your whole family, so make sure to fill them. If even one person is missing, I won't forgive you. I can't guarantee how many of us can come, but I'll do my best to arrange it. Just promise not to make a fuss if something goes wrong. Don't act all high and mighty just because you're invited. You should be grateful that you get to attend my wedding. It's an honor, especially for someone like you. Yeah, I appreciate the invitation. It's just that it came so suddenly, so I'm not sure if we can make it. I'm done listening to your excuses. I'm hanging up now. See you at the wedding. Madison said that and hung up abruptly, almost as if she was running away. Since I already agreed, it looks like I have no choice but to attend the wedding. Reluctantly, I went to James to tell him about it and ask him to go with me. Even though James doesn't like the Stevens family, I figured he wouldn't let me attend alone. So, I went to his room to discuss the wedding plans. That call earlier was from Madison. It looks like she's getting married soon and wants our family to attend. It's kind of sudden, but could you help arrange your schedule? I'd rather not attend. I'm not exactly on good terms with her family, and I don't really know her friends either. Come on, don't say that. She's apparently already reserved seats for our whole family, so we really have to fill those spots. Seriously? Well, it sounds like a hassle, but if it's that important, I guess I can make it. I think I'm free that day anyway. Judging by his expression, he really didn't want to go. It's only natural to feel that way when it's the wedding of someone you don't like. Still, since we live nearby, not showing up could lead to gossip, and I wanted to avoid that. So, no matter how much we didn't want to go, we had no choice. From that point on, I spent my days leading up to the wedding feeling gloomy, and eventually, the day arrived. When I arrived at the venue, I saw that the name tag at my seat read, "Jobless Middle School Graduate." What the heck is this? We took the trouble to make it here, and they write something like this. I shouldn't have come. This is just too much. Just because your education level is middle school doesn't mean you deserve to be treated like this. As we were talking about it, the Stevens family approached us, laughing hysterically. It looks like the whole Stevens family is laughing at me, clearly looking down on me. Honestly, they're just a terrible bunch. Then, Madison's father was the first to approach me. I'm the one who ordered that name tag. Are you making that face because you have a problem with it? I don't see anything wrong written there. Sure, I might just be a middle school graduate, but isn't it wrong to write something like this? No matter how you look at it, it's completely inappropriate. If you didn't want to be labeled like that, you should have worked harder during your school days, right? It's your lack of effort that led to this. But did my decision not to go to high school cause any inconvenience to you? If it did, I would understand being treated this way. No, it didn't really cause any issues. But since you're the only one here with such low educational qualifications, I thought it would be a good idea to make you stand out. Madison's father said this without any sign of guilt, continuing to make rude remarks. It's clear that his personality is rotten to the core. He doesn't even realize he's doing something wrong. Anyone with basic decency would know this is unacceptable, but he seems completely clueless. I didn't expect his character to be this bad, and I couldn't help but sigh. However, seeing me sigh seemed to anger Madison, and she shot back at me. Sighing at someone's wedding? How could you? What kind of upbringing makes you act like that? No wonder you couldn't even make it to high school. Michael's just shocked by how horribly you're treating him without any hint of remorse. It's sad that you can't even realize that. I thought you were a skilled surgeon, but hearing you talk like that shows you're not much after all. I guess your whole family really is just a bunch of lowlifes. Putting "jobless middle school graduate" on a guest's name tag at a wedding is more messed up than anything else. I didn't think you'd stoop this low. I feel exactly the same way. Instead of being grateful that we even showed up, you're treating us like this? That's just wrong. You might not realize it, but this is how the neighborhood sees you. You should be thankful I'm making you aware of it. Madison said that with a laugh, but no one else besides the Stevens family has ever said anything like that to us. In fact, I've heard complaints about the Stevens family from other neighbors. They're such a problematic family that even the people around them are fed up. But since no one can force them to move, everyone just tolerates them. The Stevens family seems completely unaware of this and just assumes everyone likes them. While we were talking, Megan, my secretary who had been delayed by work, arrived. I apologize for being late. The meeting I had just before this ran longer than expected. Thanks for coming all the way out here. I know I asked you to come on short notice, so there's no need to apologize. The Stevens family noticed Megan's presence and seemed confused, not understanding who she was. Since they had never met her before, it was natural for them to be puzzled. Unable to contain her curiosity, Madison asked about Megan. I don't remember inviting this person. You can't just bring someone I don't know. That's just common sense. Who was the one who told me to fill the seats with someone if a family member couldn't make it? I might have said that, but it doesn't make sense to bring a stranger. You should know better. But without my secretary Megan here, I wouldn't have been able to attend today. If she hadn't come, I would have had to skip the wedding. Secretary? What are you even talking about? There's no way a middle school graduate like you would have a secretary. Stop making up stories. Madison clearly didn't believe me. Since she always thought of me as just a middle school dropout, it wasn't surprising that she couldn't imagine me having a secretary. Still, I had properly introduced Megan, so it was frustrating that she didn't understand. Megan, having grasped the situation, started speaking. Mr. Carter, is that Mr. Stevens over there? What's going on here? Yeah, Mr. Stevens is my neighbor, and he invited us to the wedding. Honestly, I didn't really want to attend. But why does your name tag say Jobless Middle School Graduate? What's going on here? It seems Mr. Stevens thinks that's an accurate way to describe me, so that's how they treated me. I'm honestly at a loss here. If that's the kind of person running a company, it sounds risky. Maybe we should just shut it down. I can arrange that right now if you'd like. Yeah, I think you're right. Go ahead and take care of it. If it's not possible right now, later is fine, but it would be great if you could handle it now. As soon as I said that, Megan stepped aside to make a phone call. It looked like she was making arrangements to shut down the company run by Mr. Stevens. The entire Stevens family seemed stunned, completely unable to comprehend what was happening. Finally, after regaining some composure, Mr. Stevens cut into the conversation. Wait a minute. What do you mean shut down my company? There's no way someone like you could do that. Stop talking nonsense. I'm not joking. Your company is actually a subsidiary of the company where I serve as chairman. If I decide to shut it down, I can do it without any problem. A middle school graduate like you becoming a chairman? That's impossible. Don't spout nonsense just because you didn't finish high school. Exactly. You can't just say whatever you want. You think it's okay to lie to us like that? Michael isn't lying. After graduating from middle school, he worked his way up through his achievements and eventually became chairman. He's been working responsibly ever since. Hearing James say that, the Stevens family's expressions changed, probably realizing that it might not just be a lie. They've always trusted my brother since he's a surgeon, so they started to take it more seriously. Sensing a potential crisis, Mr. Stevens immediately called his secretary to confirm the situation. He must have realized that continuing to say whatever he wanted could put him in trouble. After talking on the phone, his face turned pale, and he started speaking in a trembling voice. I thought the chairman of the parent company was an elderly man, but it looks like he recently handed the position over to you. I can't understand why someone like you, a middle school graduate, would be chosen. After graduating middle school, I joined the company and worked hard. Eventually, I was put in charge of a new business venture and produced successful results. That caught the attention of Mr. Foster, and he decided to name me as his successor. Could something like that really happen? Well, considering how insightful the parent company is, I guess it's not entirely out of the question. That being said, I just recently became the chairman, so it took some time to get familiar with all the subsidiaries. I only learned recently that your company is one of them. I can't believe you're the chairman of my dad's parent company. I always thought you were just a useless middle school dropout. If you're really that impressive, I guess I have no choice but to acknowledge it. Madison still couldn't grasp the situation and continued to speak from a position of superiority. But after all the terrible things she's done since our school days, I couldn't just forgive her. The fact that I managed to become chairman proves that a person's potential isn't solely determined by their education. However, having someone like Mr. Stevens as a president would only hinder the growth of talented people. To ensure that such potential isn't crushed, I made a decision. I've decided to shut down Mr. Stevens' company, but will offer positions to the talented employees. You should be prepared. Your past actions are the reason for this decision, so no objections will be considered. Wait, that's not fair. How could you do such a thing? You even have a heart? You've been saying horrible things to Mitchell all this time, and now you're trying to act like the victim? You should take responsibility for your own actions. That's completely different. Even if he's now a chairman, it doesn't change the fact that he's just a useless middle school graduate. Whatever I said to him was justified. If that's how it works, then it's also justified for me to shut down your company since it's just a subsidiary of mine. Isn't that fair? When I pointed that out, Madison seemed to realize she'd been caught out and fell silent. Mr. Stevens, on the other hand, understood that his company was really going under and collapsed to his knees without saying a word. After all the condescending remarks he made, he should take responsibility for the consequences. Desperate to protect his position, Mr. Stevens then kneeled in front of me and started apologizing. I'm truly sorry for my rude behavior. I didn't know you were such a capable person, and that's why I acted the way I did. So, if you don't think someone is competent, you'll continue to treat them poorly? That mindset shows you're unfit to be a leader, so I've decided to close your company. No, that's not what I meant. The fact that you're struggling to justify yourself now just reveals your true nature. Trying to cover it up at this point won't work. Finally, realizing the gravity of the situation, Madison spoke up. Wait a minute. If Dad's company goes under, my husband will lose his job too. You can't do this. It's too much. After constantly looking down on people and laughing at their struggles, now that you're in trouble, you change your attitude? Don't you think that's incredibly selfish? If you had told us from the start that you were the chairman, I wouldn't have treated you that way. It's partly your fault for not saying anything. I don't know what kind of logic you're using, but that reasoning is completely flawed. You should really rethink your attitude. James scoffed, and Madison's face turned pale. She finally understood that her opinions wouldn't be accepted and seemed completely crushed. At that moment, Megan returned from making the phone call. I've confirmed the shutdown process. The procedures will likely begin next week. Considering the company hasn't been profitable for a while, it's a reasonable decision. So, my company is really going to be gone. We've been in the red lately, so I guess it was inevitable. Wait, you never told me the company was losing money. Why didn't you say something that important? Because if the company closed down, we wouldn't be able to live here anymore, and your marriage might get called off. I just couldn't bring myself to say it. Could you take your arguments somewhere else? For now, just understand that your company will be shut down, and you'll need to manage on your own from now on. No way. Realizing how their lives had collapsed, both Madison and her father fell to their knees, unable to say anything more. A few weeks later, as planned, the company was officially shut down. Without an income, the Stevens family couldn't maintain their house and eventually moved away to some rural area. After acting so high and mighty, it's probably a harsh reality for them to face. With the Stevens family having moved away, neighborhood relations have become much smoother and life has become much more enjoyable. To think they were acting all high and mighty, but their company was actually running at a loss. I didn't know the details either, so I was honestly shocked to hear they were in the red. I guess it was the perfect timing to shut it down. From now on, as chairman, I've decided to keep a closer eye on various aspects of the business.